It is Friday, July 24th, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Buck Reynolds, and I'm keeping the Silicon drivers in check.
This is Jules Sterling.
I'm Dan Miller.
And I'm Elena Rossi. We have a great show for you today.
Well, here's the deal. Yesterday, we were digging into Aurora's million-mile driverless truck and that massive Knight-Swift earnings beat. But honestly, the industry woke up to a total earthquake this morning, and it didn't come from a tailpipe.
You're right, Buck. The ground literally shifted in Dallas yesterday. Actually, if I may, let's start with the nightmare fuel for every broker listening. A Dallas County jury just handed down a $604 million verdict against C.H. Robinson.
$600 million? For one accident?
It's the case of Lipe versus Lupus Superior. It was a 2021 crash in Mississippi. A truck plowed in to stop traffic, killed 3 people. The carrier, Lupus Superior, they didn't have the assets, so the jury went after the deep pockets.
Look, the bottom line is, this is the first real post-Montgomery test. We all thought the Supreme Court gave brokers some cover back in May, but this jury just sidestepped the negligent selection argument entirely.
Exactly. They didn't just say Robinson hired a bad carrier. They found that the driver was, effectively an employee of C.H. Robinson. They're calling it vicarious liability. Robinson owns 23% of that $600+ million.
My thing is, how? A broker doesn't own the truck? They don't hire the guy behind the wheel. How are they the employer?
It's all about control, Buck. If the broker's dictating the route, the speed, or using tech that micromanages the driver, a lawyer's going to stand in front of a jury and say, that's not a contractor, that's an employee, right?
It's a total game changer. Every broker out there is looking at their contracts right now and sweating through their shirts. If you're an asset-light provider, but you're acting like a fleet manager, you just painted a target on your back.
Actually, Robinson says they're going to appeal, obviously. They're pointing out the carrier had a satisfactory rating from the FMCSA. But, the agency theory is the new frontline. It's not about safety ratings anymore. It's about the relationship.
It sort of makes you wonder if being hands-off is the only way to survive. But customers want transparency. They want to know where the load is every second. You can't have it both ways anymore.
Well, it's a mess. We spend all this time worrying about regulators, and then a jury in Dallas just resets the whole industry's insurance premiums with one gavel strike.
All right, let's pivot to something that actually made money this week. The rails are absolutely on fire. Union Pacific dropped their Q2 numbers, and they didn't just beat the record, they shattered it.
Oh, Jennifer Hammond must be doing a victory lap. What was the top line?
$6.86 billion in revenue. That's up 12% year over year. And the kicker? Their operating ratio is at 59.7%. Even with merger costs, they're lean and mean.
59.7? Look, I'm an old driver, and even I have to respect that kind of efficiency. But my thing is, how much of that is just them squeezing the customers?
It's volume growth, Buck. It's not just rate hikes. Domestic intermodal had its 4th straight record quarter. They're taking share back from the highway because truck capacity is finally tightening up and the rails are actually executing.
And there's the Norfolk Southern merger looming. But the big news today isn't just the earnings. It's the deal with Canadian National. They just signed a major network access swap.
Right. That's the strategic move that clears the track for the transcontinental era. By playing nice with CN, Union Pacific is basically making the regulators' jobs easier for that Norfolk Southern deal.
Here's the play. If this merger goes through, we're looking at the first true coast-to-coast railroad in North American history. It changes the chessboard for every shipper in the Midwest. You won't have to hand off cars in Chicago or Memphis. It's one line, one bill.
I mean, that sounds great for the spreadsheets, Dan. But I've seen what happens when these big lines merge. You get congestion, you get operational excellence that leaves the little grain elevators in the dust. I'm skeptical.
Actually, the grain traffic was a huge driver this quarter. Agricultural strength was up. But, I suppose the risk is always in the transition. If they mess up the integration, the supply chain feels it for a decade.
Well, speaking of things feeling integrated, did you guys see the JB Hunt news? They finally pulled the curtain back on Overroute.
The stealth project with UP Labs?
Exactly. It's been in the works for a year. And the thing that's sort of brilliant about it, right, is it's not a new TMS. It's an AI layer that sits on top of what you already have.
My thing is it actually acting? Or is it just another dashboard? We have enough dashboards.
No, it's acting. It automates the grunt work. Late arrivals? Overroute sees the exception, checks the live data, and manages the customer communication before a human even picks up a headset. Nick Hobbs said it's about reducing friction, and it's already live across all their units.
Great. Another robot to tell me I'm 5 minutes late because the gate guard was having a smoke. I mean, do these tech guys realize freight moves on rubber and steel, not just code?
Buck, look, JB Hunt has always been the benchmark. If they're betting this hard on AI-native workflows, it's because the math works. And they aren't the only ones. Project 44 just dropped Mo yesterday.
Mo? Like the bartender?
Not quite. It's a conversational AI analyst. But they also announced the LSP44 split. They're bifurcating the business to focus on different sectors. It's the end of the visibility-only era. Just knowing where the box is, that's table stakes now. Now you need the machine to tell you why it's there and what to do about it.
Yeah, here's the deal. I'll believe in Mo when Mo can change a tire in a blizzard.
Hey, before we move on, a quick note from our sponsor. Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering. This show is powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. Support the architect behind the code. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/neuralnetworkmedia for a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF.
Now it's time for the Big Board, our Friday segment where we break down the one consequential move that's shifting the competitive landscape.
And we have two major pivots to talk about this week. Dan, you want to start with the defense play?
Absolutely. Look, the biggest move on the board is the alliance between DHL Supply Chain and Leidos. We're talking about an $18 billion bid for the UK Ministry of Defence contract.
Wait, 18 billion? To move what? Tanks?
Tanks, medical supplies, everything. It's called the Future Defense Support Services. And here's the play. DHL is pivoting to sovereign logistics. While everyone else is fighting over 10-cent margins in retail, DHL is looking for recession-proof, government-backed stability.
If I may, that's a massive risk shift. Moving commercial freight is one thing. Managing the digital backbone of a nation's military? That requires a level of security and uptime that most 3PLs aren't built for.
But that's why they're with Leidos, right? Leidos has the defense tech. DHL has the scale. That's a power couple move. And it shows that DHL is moving toward being an intellectual asset partner rather than just a box mover.
Right. And it's happening while Uber Freight is doing the exact opposite. They just announced a pivot to ROI realism. Their CTO, Val Marchevsky, basically said the experimentation era for AI is over. No more chatbots.
You mean they burned the budget and didn't get any miles out of it?
Exactly. They blew their annual AI budget in 4 months with negligible productivity gains. Now they're shelving the pilots and focusing on hard-coded execution, specifically cutting dispute resolution time and automated finance reconciliation.
It's sort of a reality check for the whole industry, you know? The hype is hitting the wall of the balance sheet. Shippers don't want a robot to talk to. They want a 5% margin recovery. Uber is betting that by making the human broker irrelevant to the transaction, they can win the cost war.
It's the margin discipline play. They're trying to automate the non-revenue generating tasks. If they can make the back office disappear, they can underprice everyone in the spot market.
Actually, it's a structural dependency trap. If your engineers are using AI to write 70% of your code, which Uber is doing, you're all in. There's no going back to the old way.
That's the big board for this week. The shift from high-level hype to high-security and high-yield reality.
Well, speaking of reality, I looked at the Tesla Q2 numbers, and it's the same old song. Record revenue, $28 billion, but they missed on the earnings big time.
$25 billion in CapEx will do that to you, Buck. They're building out the Cortex-2 compute cluster and the Nevada factory.
My thing is the Semi. Musk finally admitted the autonomous development took a back seat for the Cybercab. Now he's saying full self-driving for the Semi will be working by early 2027.
Early 2027? Actually, that's quite a delay from the original timeline. But they are shipping the units now with the AI-4 camera arrays. The hardware's there, but the march of nines for safety is proving to be a mountain they haven't climbed yet.
It's the same story we heard yesterday with Aurora, right? The transition is hardware ready, but software stalled. But Tesla has that negative cash flow now, $1.1 billion. That's a lot of pressure to start seeing some ROI on those trucks.
I mean, here's the deal. You can't run a fleet on eventual technology. Fleets need to know their cost per mile today. And with diesel where it is...
Speaking of costs, did you guys see the trade report? Section 301 tariffs hit today. Section 122 expired at midnight.
60 trading partners getting hit with 10 to 12.5% rates. Jameson Greer is making it clear. This is Trade War 3.0. It's all about forced labor bans and de-risking.
It's terrifying for the global supply chain, but it's a gold mine for the nearshoring crowd. U.S.-Mexico freight is seeing double-digit growth. If you aren't looking at Laredo or El Paso right now, you're missing the boat.
Actually, even the boat is in trouble. The Panama Canal just suspended last-minute auctions because of El Niño, and the Black Sea, near standstill. Geopolitics is basically a two-choke-point crisis right now.
Well, I guess we better talk about the FMCSA before we get out of here. They're finally moving on the broker transparency rule. The supplemental proposal is coming this month.
This is the OIDIDI's white whale. No more transparency waivers in contracts?
That's the plan. I mean, 49 CFR 37.3 has been on the books since 1980. Brokers just found a way to write around it. Now the FMCSA wants to ban those waivers and give us a 48-hour clock to see the transaction records.
I suppose it's a leveling of the field, but from a risk perspective, it's going to create a lot of friction. Brokers hate this. They say it's an intrusion into private contracts. If I'm a broker, I don't want my carrier seeing my margin.
Look, the bottom line is that secrets are getting harder to keep. Whether it's AI agents reading the data or the FMCSA mandating it, the black box of freight brokerage is being cracked open.
It's about time. A man ought to know what he's hauling for and who's getting the lion's share.
You know, all of this, the tariffs, the lawsuits, the tech, it feels like we're in the middle of a massive decoupling.
Actually, Jules, that's exactly what the rider earnings showed this week.
Let's go deep on that. Ryder System and C.H. Robinson both released data that shows two very different ways to survive this cycle. Ryder is the big winner here.
Robert Sanchez is definitely smiling. $3.35 billion in revenue, up 5%. But the thing is, it's the shift. They aren't a truck leasing company anymore.
Exactly. Contractual revenue, supply chain solutions, and dedicated now makes up 65% of their total mix. 65! In 2018, that was 44%.
That is the asset-right playbook. They've de-risked the whole business. When the rental market or used vehicle sales tank, it doesn't sink the ship anymore because the contractual base is so heavy. They raised their guidance to over $14 a share.
It's such a smart move, you know? They're moving into these complex, multi-partner networks, like what they're doing in Columbus with Strauss, putting 3D printing and embroidery directly on the warehouse floor. They're becoming part of the manufacturing process, not just the transport.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a warehouse manager's dream, but does it move the needle for the guy in the sleeper?
It does, Buck, because it creates structural dependency. Once a shipper embeds you into their actual assembly line, you aren't just another vendor they can fire over a late load. You're part of the business. It's the ultimate moat.
And then look at C.H. Robinson. Before that verdict hit, they were touting their lean AI strategy. They've managed to grow their volume while successfully decoupling their headcount from that growth.
That's the holy grail of 3PL management. Usually, if you want to move 10% more freight, you have to hire 10% more people to track it. Robinson is saying no. They're doing more with less by using the tech layer we were talking about earlier.
But my thing is, does the Dallas verdict undo all of that? If the efficiency of your tech is what makes a jury think you're an employer, did you just innovate yourself into a billion-dollar liability?
Whoa, that's the real question, isn't it? I mean, you build a machine to track every sneeze a driver takes, and then you get sued because that machine says he's your employee.
It's the paradox of the orchestration era. The more you control the network to find efficiency, the more you own the risk of that network. Ryder is doing it by owning the assets and the contracts. Robinson is trying to do it with pure code.
It sort of feels like the old guard model is officially dead. You're either an asset-right orchestrator like Ryder, or you're a hyper-efficient digital engine like what Robinson wants to be. There's no middle ground left.
And meanwhile, Mullen Group in Canada is doing the same thing, diversifying and onshoring. It's a resilience playbook. The market is volatile, the tariffs are high, and the legal fees are astronomical. If you aren't diversified, you're a sitting duck.
Well, I guess I'll stick to my vintage CB radios. They don't have vicarious liability. I mean, what a week.
It's a touchdown for the ones who planned ahead, Buck. For everyone else, the fourth quarter's looking real long.
Precisely. Complacency is the precursor to catastrophe. This week was the wake-up call.
Right. And I'll be over here with my green juice, trying to figure out how to explain a $600 million verdict to my retail accounts. It's going to be a fun Monday.
Well, here's the deal. If you're on the road, keep the shiny side up. It's getting expensive out there. That's all for today's High Road, Logistics and Leadership. We covered the nuclear shock in Dallas, the transcontinental rail race, and why Ryder is winning the decoupling game. Stay safe and stay profitable.
See ya.
Later.
Goodbye.
Remember, if you can't smell the oil, you're too far from the freight.